folks, and welcome to another video. Nigel and I have got to get back into this videoing, haven't we? Because we're out of practice, aren't we?
We're getting a little bit rusty.
Yeah. But anyway, we're doing an apple tasting, and I just had a quick look at the names, and there's quite a few here that I don't recognise from last year. But Nigel's going to basically tell us a little bit about what's been happening this year on the apple side for us in Leicestershire. Over to you, Nigel.
Yeah, we've had a big problem this year with apple storage, mainly because of apple sawfly, which is a very serious pest around here at the moment. And we found that many of the apples which were in blossom early, and quite a few of those are early fruiters as well, they have been attacked by the sawfly and they haven't stored, so they've just been, the apples have come and gone in just a few days, many of them going rotten. So the early varieties like Sweetings, Discovery, some of the red-fleshed apples have been very badly affected. So this year we're going to have mainly mid-season apples, I think, and later ones. I think they should be reasonably okay. So we should see a few varieties here that we've seen before and a few that we have not encountered yet.
And as we mentioned last year, we did say that we would be repeating some of the same apples because the weather conditions can have a big effect on how the apple tastes. And it has been a different year this year to last year.
Yes, you find if you have a warmish summer but with cool evenings, and the warm days and cool evenings last into the autumn, that's the optimum sort of climate for the best development of flavour. If you have a very hot summer with hot evenings, the apples tend to age prematurely and you don't get the full development of the flavours. So you want a bit of heat but also a bit of cool for apples to taste the best that they can.
Right, that's great.
Now, we thought what we would do today to sort of focus our minds is to allocate some scores to these apples as we go through them, in addition to the descriptions that we do.
A bit like we did on some of them last year.
Yeah, we did it I think on the very last tasting last year. Yeah. And then at the end, I've listed all the variety names. We will put them up with the scores so you can see which ones
we'll
have done the
both
best.
Score them, and then it will be totalled up, and then you'll see. And it will be out of 5. So if it's scored 5, then it can't get any better.
Yeah.
Oh no, will it be 5? No, it'll be 10.
It'll be 5 for each of us, but when we add them together, the best score that it can get will be 10.
10, yeah.
And if an apple is so-so, we don't like it, we don't dislike it, it'll be 3 out of 5.
And if it's not edible, then it's going to be 1 or 2.
That's right, yeah. And if it's very good or excellent, well, it'll be 4 or 5. Yeah. Okay. Well, the first one is
this one, is it?
Yeah, if you pass that one over.
Okay.
This is a red-fleshed apple known as Rouge. It's from Germany.
Spelt with a W.
With a W, pronounced as a V. See if I can get a slice out. There we are. You can see it's quite a bright colour, this one. Okay, is that in view, Julie?
I think
it will be, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see quite good red coloration there. Well, it looks superb, but I don't think I could eat all this. What do you think?
I will eat it, but it's not very nice.
Oh dear.
Just a quick question, Nigel. When you get something like this that tastes very good like this, does it taste any better when it's dried?
Yeah. When you dry apples, they tend to it concentrates the sugar. There's not much sugar in this. It's all sour and dry. It's not very nice. And
Come on, you've got to eat it.
All right.
Yeah.
It's slightly bitter, but when you dry it, it concentrates the sugar. So what little sugar there is, this will be quite nice and tart when you eat it dried.
So put some sugar over it.
Yeah. It's not nasty. Well, I think I'll give it a 2. Or, I don't know. I couldn't eat it all. Let's give it a 1. I think a 1 really.
I think a 1 for me as well, yeah. I certainly couldn't eat a whole one of those.
No.
Not unless I was really desperate.
Now, there's another apple here, which there was a big argument on the internet among apple people a year or 2 ago. This is an apple which is known as Red Moon. It's also German. Rotermond, I think the German is for it. And lots of people said that Rouge and Rotermond were the same. Then I was contacted by a chap from Switzerland who said no, they're not. He said one of them was from Ukraine and one was from Germany. The Rotermond apparently is from Ukraine. So let's see if this is any better or whether or not it's the same. Again, it's a nice colour. Is it any better?
It's better.
It's a little bit sweeter, isn't it?
It's still not.
And that horrible bitter taste is not there. This is better, yeah. But I still wouldn't want to eat a whole one.
I'm going to give that a 2.
Yeah, I think I will as well. I agree. And it's fairly definite that they're not the same thing. Right, the third one is a crab apple. I can't remember where I got this from, but it's known as Malus soulardii. It has.
Looks a bit like a plum, folks.
Yeah, there we are. You can see again it's a red-fleshed one. You're going to try that.
Yeah.
I know this is going to be sour, but I know also it's got lots of sugar in it. It's not really designed for eating, but I put it here just for curiosity. In fact, it's not too bad, is it? I wouldn't want to eat very much of it, but it's quite appley and it's quite tart.
I'd put it on par with the second one. I'd give it a 2.
Yeah, it's better than the first one, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put 2 for you. I'll put 2 for me. And the fourth one is similar. It's yet another red-fleshed one. This is known as maypole. This is available from lots of nurseries. And the special thing about maypole is the way it grows. It's quite a good ornamental. You can see it's red inside again. The pattern is a little bit different. And some people use this to make cider. It's not really an eating apple. The special thing about the trees of maypole is they don't have any significant branches. They tend to be what they call a pole tree with a trunk and just little stubs coming off the main trunk, but no branches. What do you reckon to that one?
Well, I'm going to give that a 3 because I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah, it's a bit sweeter. It's more appley. It's more pleasant. There's no bitterness in it. Okay, I'll agree with you on that. I think that's a 3.
I think we've got a similar taste now.
Yeah, I think we have. Yeah. Next one is an old apple which we rediscovered in Church Langton. This is the Lenten Nonsuch. It's a Leicestershire apple. It's been absent from the UK for about 90 years and we found it in Germany and now we're reintroducing it to Leicestershire gardens. And it was described by Robert Hogg, the apple expert, as perfumed with a sort of saccharine sweet taste, but quite tart.
Yeah. This is a much softer apple. They were all more crispy.
It's almost crumbly, isn't it? That was picked this morning. It's very sweet.
Yeah, it's almost like a ripe apple, what you'd buy from the supermarket.
Yeah, it reminds me of a little bit like meringue. You think? Apple meringue?
I don't know, I don't eat it.
But it's crumbly and soft.
I'm going to give that a 3.
I'm going to give that a 4. I know that the Lenten Nonsuch doesn't keep for more than about 3 or 4 days. That's one of the disadvantages of growing it, but it is quite nice straight off the tree. Right, the next one is a wild apple which was found by a friend of ours who used to be on Gardener's Question Time, Daphne Ledward, and she found that at the side of the road just outside the village of Surfleet, and we've called it the Surfleet Sour because when most people pick this in August or September they find it's incredibly sour, but this one I think is actually ripe, and I reckon it's probably going to have a reasonable flavour.
Okay. This is the best so far.
Oh, I like that. I'll give that a 4.
Yeah, same with me.
Nice and sweet. So it's not sour at all if you wait for it to get ripe. A lot of people, when an apple starts to colour up, will pick apples too early.
And this doesn't taste like any apple you buy in the supermarket.
No, it's got a slightly odd taste. It's difficult to describe exactly what's odd about it. It's got a hint of other fruits.
Somebody gave you a piece of this with a peel off. You wouldn't know what it was.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't necessarily think it was an apple, would you?
No.
Yes, it's got a sort of background flavour that's not apple-like at all. I'll have to have a think about the description for that, possibly for a later video. Right, the next one is a bit of a curiosity.
This is a scientific one, is it?
Yeah, this is one which was bred by Alison and myself.
Right.
This is one of our first own seedlings, and it was grown from a pip of a Darcy Spice tree crossed with a red-fleshed apple, and I'd be interested to see what you think of it. Can't seem to slice it. Oh, there we go. Let's see what you reckon. We don't actually know the best time to pick this. Where's it? Oh, there it goes. There we go. It's lemony. Taste of lemons. Quite sweet. It's got a blush on one side, as you can see here. I quite like that. I'm a little bit biased, but I think that's a 4 for me.
I think I'll give it...
You don't have to like it, it's tastes are different.
3, I think.
Okay.
It's kind of in between 3 and 4, but I'll give it a 3.
Yeah. And we've got another of our seedlings here. This one is from a Wittig Pippin. Now, Wittig Pippin is a Leicestershire unique seedling, and we took a pip from that, from a flower that we'd crossed with another red-fleshed apple, and this is the first time this one has fruited. Doesn't have red flesh itself, unfortunately. That's what we were aiming for. It's a white-fleshed apple, but it'll be interesting to see what the flavour's like.
Now, here's a quick question for you, Nigel. You're saying you were hoping for a red one.
Mm.
Can you always get the odd one that from future generations what will turn out red? You know, like with people and that, there's a genetic, sometimes you could end up with a black child from, because there's some black blood in you hundreds of years ago. Can it happen with apples?
It can, but usually the way you realise that a tree is going to be red fleshed, not always, but usually you get a clue that the leaves are red.
Mm.
The leaves are red.
Right.
And if you have that sort of red fleshed apple and you produce seedlings from it, once you've got a seedling that hasn't got the red leaves, if you then use that for breeding, you'll never get any more red fleshed from that particular strain.
Okay. Right.
Well, that was reasonably sweet, a little bit tart. Just remind myself what it tastes like. I'm not sure it's entirely ripe. I think I'm going to give that a 3.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah, okay. But it's a reasonable size, reasonable colour. Right, now we get to a commercial apple. This is Lexington Fortune. We tasted this last year. You can see it's coloured up really well. That was taken off the tree about an hour ago. This is sold by some nurseries under the name Fortune, but Lexington's Fortune is exactly the same.
Mm.
It's usually one of my favourites.
Oh, this is lovely.
Yeah, it is. I've got to give that a 5. Must do.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. It's sweet, slightly tart, but not too much. Really nice balanced fruit. And one of the things about Lexington's Fortune is it ripens over probably about 3, possibly 4 weeks. So you can pick it right through from reasonably early September right through into first week in October. You can get fresh apples off the tree throughout that time. There's no point in storing them, picking them off the tree and putting them in a box, because after a week they'll taste awful. They have to be picked off the tree.
Unless, of course, you're using them for dried.
Oh yeah, if you're doing that, yeah. And in fact, this year with a lot of the Lexington's Fortune, we've suffered from sawfly. So the ones that have fallen off, we've dried them, and they make first-class drying apples as well.
Have you started your drying yet?
Yeah, I've done 3 batches so far.
Mm.
3 batches, yeah. Right, next one is Mott's Pink. This is an American red-fleshed apple that we saw last year. You can see, if I hold it to the camera, it's basically yellow, but it's got a sort of pink underneath you can just see that shines through. And that's the pink flesh that's doing that. Well, it's coloured up very nicely.
Look at that, folks.
Now, this is from a slightly different strain of red-fleshed fruit. The Mott's Pink tree does not have red leaves. And that's the first nice red-fleshed apple I've tasted this afternoon. I wouldn't rate it quite...
Give it a 4.
Yeah, it's not quite as good as the Lexington's
No.
Fortune,
No.
but it's a similar sort of flavour, and it's nearly as good. Right, next one is from Oxfordshire. This is an apple which we found in a hedgerow outside the old deer park in Witney. And it's very similar to Ribston's Pippin, which is a very, very old, strong flavoured English apple. Very, very similar to it, with a nice, rich flavour in most years. And the appearance is fairly similar.
going to give this a 5.
Yeah, so am I. It's very sweet and very pleasant and crunchy and juicy.
Crisp. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. One of the problems with growing Ribston Pippin is it's very prone to a pest known as woolly aphis, and this is an insect that covers the tree in a sticky, gooey mess looking a bit like cotton wool. And the deer park apple doesn't get it, but Ribston is notorious for getting woolly aphis. So if you have a Ribston tree, you've got to be constantly on your guard against it. The last one is an East German apple called Bräunsdorfer. It's from a little village just over the border in East Germany called Bräunsdorf. And this is one which we rescued from the coal miners. There you go.
Yeah.
Basically, the orchard in the village was bulldozed, and all the apple trees were were lost. And we thought this one might be worth saving. Well, it's not tasting quite as good as normal this year. You can see it's a pink-fleshed apple. Quite soft. What do you reckon?
I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah. I don't think it's better than a 3 this year.
No.
Last year it was a good 4. Usually it has a hint of peaches, but this year it doesn't. Now I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to mark on the score sheet here which ones are red-fleshed. What I'll do, I'll put a mark, a black mark next to the red-fleshed ones. And I'll turn this round in a minute so you can see it, but I'll just read out the scores for the red-fleshed ones. Right, there are 6 of them. 2, 4, 4, 6, 8, 6. Now let's try and work out an average. What have we got here? 4, 5, 6, 10, 16, 16, 24,
26, 32.
32. Divided by 6.
5 and a bit.
So it's 5 and a bit. So the red flesh are only scoring 5 and a bit. Now let's have a look at the others. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. So we've got 10, 20, 33, 41,
8.
48.
It's 8.
Divided by 6, and it's 8. So we're getting the average taste, the average flavour for the white-fleshed apples is 8 as opposed to 5 and a bit. And this is one of the problems with many of the red-fleshed apples. They tend to have fantastic appearance, but the flavours are not that good. Right, there's the score sheet for those that want to have a closer look at it. And this is why there's a big push worldwide at the moment to try to produce a good red-fleshed apple, because no one has really achieved it yet.
What do you think would make a nice, tasty apple? Have you got any ideas what you think across?
Well, if we could find something that had the flavour of Lexington Fortune, that had a super colour.
Yeah.
It's going to take quite a lot of work, I think, because the breeding cycle for producing new apples is about 6 years, at least, going from pollination to new fruit. So it's not the sort of thing that many people get involved with.
So that you would really have to be doing hundreds of them.
Oh yes, you need quite a lot of land,
Yeah.
endless patience, and access to lots of unusual varieties,
Yeah.
so that you've got a reasonable chance of hitting the target in some way.
More land than what you've got, Nigel.
You probably, yes, but anyway. I'm doing what I can.
Perhaps somebody can donate a village for Nigel.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
So I think that's about it for today. We'll be doing another apple tasting, all being well, fairly soon. And there are other videos coming up from the allotment again in the next few days, all being well.
We'll be carrying on with the Tidy Up series, and there'll be other things what we'll be looking into as well, I think. I'm sure we can find something.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
We mentioned about, did we mention about your apple, about the apples we're creating on my tree?
Oh,
I don't think
we mentioned that I pollinated some of your Brayburn with a red-fleshed apple.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll have, in a few years, we'll have a few more seedlings, I hope, from there.
Yeah, yeah.
Tasting something like Brayburn, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But with red flesh.
We hope so. Yeah, that's what we're trying.
Okay.
Trying for.
Okay then, folks.
Okay.
That's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll be back again soon. Thanks again.